His name is Nick and he'll help you consume. That's why they call him OnlyFoods.
$2.50 pizza. I'm going to go over today how you can make a lovely pizza, much better than Domino's, for only $2.50 per portion. I will list all the ingredients that we have here in the description below. Also, I will put right over here all the ingredients that we're going to be using today and the measurements of everything. We'll start off with the pepperoni. I use like deli meat pepperoni. It's so much better quality than the stuff you would buy in like the package stuff, and it's really cheap actually. It's only like $2.30 for like a quarter pound of pepperoni. Super delicious. For our sauce, we're going to be using crushed tomatoes. You can also use San Marzano tomatoes, which like are the whole plum tomatoes. These are a lot more tastier in my opinion, but if you want to go the cheaper route, definitely you could do like crushed tomatoes in a can. We're also going to have some active dry yeast. We're going to have some dried basil, tomato paste, fresh mozzarella cheese. We're doing fresh basil, fresh garlic, sea salt, garlic powder. We have granulated sugar for the dough. We have all-purpose flour. You can also use bread flour if you wanted to. All-purpose flour, it's a lot cheaper. A lot more people have it in their pantry already. We're going to be using olive oil, freshly cracked black pepper, and then I have dairy-free mozzarella because I can not eat cheese. And then also some really good balsamic vinegar. This is going to be used for the balsamic reduction that we're going to do on top of the pizza. So we're going to do this recipe in 4 steps. We're going to do the dough first. We're going to move down to the sauce. We're going to do the toppings. And then to finish it all off, the balsamic reduction.
What's going on, guys? So we're going to be adding 1 cup of flour into a measuring cup. The recipe calls for 2 cups of flour, but we're going to start off with 1. We're going to dump that into the bowl. And then we're going to add a little bit of sea salt, calls for about 3/4 of a teaspoon. We're also going to add 1 packet of active dry yeast. That's going to help everything kind of rise and make the dough kind of fluffy and everything. We're going to add our warm water. We want it to be about 102 to 105 degrees. If you don't have a digital thermometer, it's going to be warm to the touch, not hot. If it's hot, it'll definitely kill the yeast. I added a little bit of garlic powder to my dough mixture. You don't have to add garlic powder if you don't want to. Also added in 2 tablespoons of olive oil in there. Added a little bit of dry basil as well, just to give it a little bit of flavor. The dried basil actually really gave it like a nice, almost like it tastes like a focaccia almost. So I added in a little bit more flour to the mix, just to kind of get everything combined. I added it in gradually. Your dough's going to look a little bit shaggy at first. You're going to want to mix it all together, kind of get everything working. I put it out onto my cutting board just to kind of knead it a little bit. The recipe doesn't call to knead it, but I did just to kind of get everything worked in together. My wooden spoon was not doing that for me. You're going to want to oil your bowl, so clean out your original bowl, oil it up a little bit, work your dough in there, get it all nice and oiled up. So I did plastic wrap on top of the bowl, got it really nice and tight, and I set it in a warm place for about 30 minutes. And I also drained out the plum tomatoes that we were talking about earlier, the San Marzano ones. Chopped those tomatoes up real nice and fine with my wooden spoon. Add a little bit of tomato paste in there as well, just to thicken everything up. Added some sea salt and some freshly cracked black pepper. I have about 4 to 5 basil leaves that I wanted to put in there. I cut the stems off of them and chopped it up nice and fine. At this point, the sauce almost resembled like a salsa-like texture once I added the basil leaves in there. So I added 1 clove of garlic into the mix as well. You don't want to add too much garlic into this because the garlic will really come through once you put it in the fridge and let it set for about 20 to 30 minutes while the dough is continuing to rise. I didn't chop it up too fine because I didn't want it to, I wanted the garlic to really come through in the sauce. Mix that up, added a splash of balsamic vinegar to the mix just to give it a touch of acidity. Threw it into the fridge for about 20 to 30 minutes. And then once our dough had risen, I kind of smushed it down with my hands, placed it onto the wooden cutting board, and kneaded it out for I don't know, about 2 minutes. So this is the part where it can get kind of fun. Depending on how good of a pizza tosser you are, you could throw the pizza up in the air if you want, the dough up in the air. I am definitely not that talented, so I kind of just spread it out with my fingers. And then I placed it on the back side of a baking sheet, actually. Set the oven to as hot as my oven would go, and then I spooned out a ladle of sauce. I use 1 ladle of sauce. You can use more than that if you want. So I sliced up my mozzarella pretty thin, and I added it on top of the pizza. I love a lot of cheese in my pizza, so I added a pretty decent amount. I think it was probably about, I'd say like, I think it was half a block of the mozzarella cheese that we had that I actually added on top of the pizza. I like to kind of get every crevice of my pizza filled with cheese. Who doesn't love cheese, right? And a lot of the Italian, like traditional Italian pizzas don't have as much cheese on it, so you can do it however you'd like. I then added my pepperoni on top, sliced it up into quarters. So I put my pizza into the oven at this point. Oven was blazing hot, about 500 degrees like we said earlier in the video. And I set the timer for about 5 minutes just to check on it afterwards, just to see how it was doing after 5 minutes, because when the oven's like that hot, the pizza will cook pretty fast. You know, it'll probably be done in about, I'd say about 10 to 12 minutes. So after about 5 minutes, we had some nice color on it, but I definitely needed to put it a little bit longer. So I set the timer for about another 4 minutes after that. And after those 4 minutes were up, I checked on the pizza again. Pizza was definitely getting there. I added a baking sheet on top just so that the top of the pizza wouldn't get too burnt, you know. I wanted to cook the crust more at that point. And then we started our balsamic reduction. So I set the heat on high, brought that up to a nice boil, and then I lowered the heat after it was starting to boil pretty heavily. I set it to about medium low, and let that simmer for, I'd say about 10 minutes. Got it into a nice consistency. Pulled my pizza out of the oven after another 2 minutes of cooking. So in total, I think it was about 11 minutes that we cooked the pizza. And then I took my balsamic reduction off the stove. It was a nice consistency at this point. And I grabbed a spoonful of balsamic reduction, drizzled it over the top of the pizza. I used about 2 to 3 spoonfuls of balsamic reduction, so you don't need to make too much. I cut up my basil nice and big, so you can get a lot of basil on the pizza. Pizza was looking super good at this point, and that was pretty much it. Pizza was done.
What are we supposed to do?
What you gonna share?
Is it recording?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're gonna edit it?
Well, I mean, no, we
So
can
what
talk
am I-
in it. What do you mean? No, take a piece.
Oh, take a piece?
Yeah. Sure. A shoe stretch. Dog?
There we go. Excellent.
Just wanted to say, for people making this pizza at home, you know, not everything goes right first time. This was my third attempt at making this pizza, and I make pizza a lot. You know, I'm Italian, so pizza is a staple in our household, and it took me a few tries to get everything kind of right and looking good. Pizza is very forgiving, and that's something that I've learned throughout the years, is that, you know, you can basically make a pizza and it'll taste good no matter what. But yeah, in the process, I set off the fire alarm, which has never happened to me before. I guess, I don't know, something dripped onto the bottom of the oven and, you know, set the fire alarm off. And yeah, I made a pizza in a cast iron pot and didn't come out too great. So, you know, like I said, just try it and it'll, you know, eventually you'll get the hang of it. It'll come out good. Thank you everyone for watching. It means a lot to me. I've had such a great amount of feedback from this, you know, series that I've done on Snapchat, and I kind of wanted to relay it over here. This has been a dream of mine since I was a little kid. I've always loved cooking, and, you know, to even have 20 people watch my video, you know, it means the world to me. I wanted to really put out a good video and make something good for you guys. So future videos will be coming out. Hopefully I won't be as nervous on the mic and talking, because my speech is definitely something that I need to work on a little bit. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good day.